Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought it'd be fun to share with you guys some of my recommendations for like beginner friendly palettes. I get questions all the time like what palettes should I buy, what palettes are like more beginner friendly, what palettes are friendly for like the average college or high school student, just palettes I feel like most people would get a use out of. Or somebody that's like just getting into makeup, wants to start out their collection. These are the palettes I feel like would be best for you, and I did want to mention like a good mixture here. Like I do have an even mixture of like affordable and drugstore palettes and also high-end palettes because I know most people are probably going to aim towards like drugstore and affordable, especially if you're like a beginner in makeup and like a beginner to buying makeup. You're not going to want to go buy like a $50 eyeshadow palette, and I get that. But some people are that way and they do want more high-end products. They think that high-end products are like better, which I mean sometimes it is the case, but also I feel like in more recent years we have seen drugstore and affordable brands like up their game up a little bit. So I do feel like there's a lot of really good affordable palettes, but also, you know, some people just like high-end makeup, and I wanted to recommend some palettes for them too. And I wanted to make sure I covered like different tones of makeup as well. Like I have my basic everyday neutral warm tone palettes, but I also want to mention some palettes that have like some pops of color or like cooler tones. Just like I want to give you guys a variety, you know? These are just a variety of beginner friendly palettes that I just feel like different people would like for different reasons, but they're all going to be for beginners in makeup, if that makes sense. Let's just dive into it. I'm gonna start with my more affordable palettes because I just feel like most people are here for that. So let's just dive into it. The first one I'm gonna mention here is for somebody that likes their warm tone shadows, their browns, their oranges, their like siennas. The ColourPop California Love eyeshadow palette. The only complaint I have about this palette right off the bat is the fact there is no mirror. So if you're a beginner and you don't have a lot of products with mirrors, I would definitely recommend you get a like mirror for like your vanity or your bathroom that you're able to like see yourself up close with, because I just feel like with makeup you can see yourself from a distance one way and it looks fine, but then like up close you see like all the imperfections. So right off the bat, I just want to mention there is not a mirror in this palette, and I wish there was, especially for a beginner, because you probably don't have a ton of makeup and you need mirrors. But just buy yourself a nice little handheld mirror or like a little like circular mirror. I'll insert a picture. You can get them at like Walmart, Target, pretty much anywhere. But yeah, the ColourPop California Love eyeshadow palette is such a nice palette for beginners. It's affordable for one. I think it's around $16. I'll leave the price on screen of all the palettes I mentioned, but I just feel like this palette is really nice for beginners because you have all your nice warm tones in here. I feel like most people definitely wear warm tones. Of course, some people like cooler tones, and I do have some palettes I want to mention for that later on. But I do feel like for the most part, people do like their warm tones, like their oranges, their neutral browns, their siennas, and I just feel like this palette is nice because you have all the nice mattes you need in here to create like a easy breezy look, but you also have some really poppin' shimmers in here. They are more golden tone shimmers. You don't get a variety of the shimmers as much as you do the mattes in here, but I just feel like for a beginner, this is like a really nice palette for somebody in high school, college. If you work like a normal 9-to-5 business job where you can't wear colorful makeup, this is a really nice palette. I feel like warm tones look beautiful on all eye colors, all skin tones. Maybe if you're like super cool toned, it might look a little off on you, but I just feel like warm tones are really complimentary for the majority of people. So I want to recommend this palette first because I feel like this is just a nice affordable palette that the majority of people could probably get their use out of, you know? So again, sticking with affordable here, let's say you do like your warm tones, but you mainly stick to neutrals, you like having a nice variety of mattes, and you do like to sometimes play with a little bit of pop of color, but nothing like neon or bright and intense. You just like a nice wearable pop of color, like a nice toned down pop of color. I don't know how to explain this. The Makeup Revolution x Soph X eyeshadow palette, this one right here, has 24 different shadows. As you can see, you do have like a variety of mattes in here. You have like your super warm tones on this side, but you do have like your nice everyday neutral mattes in here. These are like the perfect starter mattes, I feel, just because I think most people could probably wear them. I do like the formula of Makeup Revolution eyeshadows. I do like ColourPop's formula a bit more, but this one does have a mirror, and again, there's just more variety in this palette than I feel in like ColourPop palettes because they don't have as many shades. Well, they just made that like one with Kathleen Lights. It's like 30 something shades or something like that. Anyways, I don't know, I just feel like this has like all the basic neutrals you could possibly need. Like these are all neutrals that I feel like almost everyone's going to need. You probably don't need any other colors than these ones for like your mattes anyways. And again, you have like your nice shimmers in here. They're not strictly warm tones. And you do have some pops of color for, you know, your spicy night outs. If you go clubbing, or if you have like a date night, you want to wear like a nice deep blue or purple or green, you do have that option here, and you can pair it with the more normal neutral mattes. So I feel like this palette is perfect if you sometimes dabble with color and you just feel like you need a more varying shade range than just like your normal warm tone browns. I just feel like this palette's for you, and it does have a mirror, so it's more travel friendly than that palette. I feel like this palette is more like junior high, high school, and this is more like college, if that makes sense. I know it's probably really weird, but I just feel like in high school, like personally for me, I only wore like warm tone eyeshadows. I really didn't play with color too much. Getting into college, I do play with color more. Going to like class and work, I usually just wear like normal makeup, like my normal warm tone smoky eyes, but you know, sometimes I do play with color. Sometimes I go right after filming and just look how I look. Okay, so with those two palettes, my big emphasis was on like the matte shadows, because personally for me, and I feel like most people wear more mattes than shimmers in their eye looks. I know it's not the case for everybody, but I just feel like for the most part, people do use more mattes than shimmers. However, I do know there are some people that like shimmer more than they like mattes. They rather just put on like 4 shimmers and 1 matte color and call it quits. This palette I feel like is perfect for you. The Perception palette by Makeup by Shayla and ColourPop. Again, this one has a mirror. The only palette that didn't have a mirror was the California Love. But anyways, this palette, as you can see, is mainly shimmer. You don't really get a ton of mattes in here, but the mattes you do get are like your basic mattes that you need to create pretty much any single eye look. I just feel like if you love your shimmers and you mainly wear shimmers in the eye, this is perfect for you because literally the majority of the palette is shimmers. And again, you get your nice everyday neutral shadows in here, but you also have some pops of color, and all the pops of color are shimmer. And if you like your shimmers, I just feel like you love this palette. The shimmers in here are absolutely beautiful as well. They're so reflective and glittery and sparkly. So I do want to recommend this palette for that reason, because I know some people just like their shimmers and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, last but not least, for my more affordable palettes, I have the ColourPop Times I Love Sarah E Through My Eyes palette. Now this palette, again, has a mirror. I'm not going to get over the mirror thing. This palette I feel like is good if you like your mattes and your shimmers. It has like a more diverse range of both. But this palette's a little more different than the other ones. I feel like this palette is for somebody that likes their grungy tones. Like, you know, you like your grungy fall makeup, but like all year round. Because it has your nice mustardy tones. You do get some warm tones in here, but mainly like purples and greens and mustards and just grunge. Like, this is just like a grungy palette in my opinion, and I love my grunge. It's not something I wear every single day, but I do love me a good grungy eye look. That's for sure. And especially with fall coming up, I just want to mention this palette because it's like the perfect fall palette. If you're looking for a palette that gives you all the fall colors kind of in one, this is the palette for you. You do get really nice shimmers in here, but you also do get some colorful mattes. It has like a nice mix and match, both like neutral mattes and colorful mattes and neutral shimmers and colorful shimmers. But the colors aren't like super intense and neon. That's why I think it's perfect for beginners, because it's more just like the muted, natural looking colors, if that makes sense. Like, it's still colorful. Like, if you wear that green, like you're wearing green, obviously, but it's not like boom in your face. It's just more subdued. Is that the right word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's colorful without being like in your face, you know? Kind of like my eye look today. Like, my eye look is definitely colorful, like it's purple, but it's not like a neon purple in your face. It's like a subdued, wearable purple. And that's what I mean when I say it's colorful but still wearable. It's just like subdued, more natural, more like, oh yeah, she's wearing color, but it's not like boom in your face. I really love this palette. It's one of my favorites all time. Again, I love ColourPop's eyeshadow formula. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm obsessed with ColourPop. If you've been here for a minute now, you already knew that. Half my videos are like ColourPop related, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. But yeah, these are all my affordable palettes I want to mention here. I feel like I gave you guys a nice diverse range of like shades and shimmers and mattes, and just like, I feel like I like, you know, touched pretty much everybody. The only thing I don't have is a drugstore or affordable cool tone palette. I do have one in my high-end category that I'm going to mention, but I was looking through my collection. I don't have any like strictly cool toned affordable palettes. I do know Milani has one, the Soft and Sultry. I'll leave a picture of it on screen right here. I know that palette exists. I know it's a really nice palette. I haven't personally used it myself. I have used the Milani Boldt Obsessions though, which is like the same kind of packaging, just different colors. And I like Milani's formula of eyeshadow, so I do know I like that formula. It's just I don't have that palette because I don't wear cool tones enough to buy that. But if you're looking for a drugstore cool tone palette, that's the one. Okay, let's move on to my high-end palettes. The first palette I'm gonna mention here, no one's gonna be surprised by. If you have watched any of my videos, you know my love for this palette. I mention this palette in pretty much every single eyeshadow palette video because it's my all-time favorite palette. It's the first palette I think of when I think of pretty much anything, like favorite palettes I'd recommend. I just love this goddamn eyeshadow palette, and I don't want to hear a damn thing about it, okay? Anastasia Soft Glam. Are we surprised? No. But I do think this is a really good beginner-friendly palette. Again, it has a mirror. It is more expensive, of course, but like I said, some people do like their more expensive makeup. As you can see, I've clearly used and abused this thing. Like the California Love palette, this is meant for somebody that likes their warm tone shadows. You do get more diverse range of colors because you do get pinks in here as well, plus a black, and the California Love does not have pinks or blacks. So if you want like a bit more diversity, but nothing like too crazy in your palettes, and you mainly love warm tone shadows, I'd recommend this palette for you. This is like the perfect beginner palette in my opinion. I know I raved about it a bunch before, but I love Anastasia's eyeshadow palette formula. It's my favorite eyeshadow formula of all freaking time. Like, I just feel like they have the best eyeshadow palette formula, and I've always felt that way. The shadows are super pigmented, they blend really nicely, they're buildable. I have no complaints with their eyeshadow palette formula, and I know that sounds like super like up Anastasia's butt, and maybe I am, but I like their palettes a lot. I really like their eyeshadow palette formula, and I just feel like the proof is in the pudding. You can clearly tell I've been using and abusing this palette for a long time now. It's just absolutely perfect. Again, if you like your warm tone, sienna-y, orangey, brown colors, this is the palette for you. It is more expensive, but in my opinion, it's worth it. But if you want like a good alternative to this that's cheaper, California Love is for you. Now, let's say you like the idea of Anastasia Soft Glam, but it's too expensive, and you want like a more condensed version of that because maybe you travel, maybe you live in a smaller living space like an apartment or a dorm. I think the Tarte Man Eater palette would actually be really great for you. I believe this is still available. I'll try to link it down below. Again, has a nice lovely mirror, and it's literally like the same colors in the Anastasia Soft Glam, but just more broken down, more condensed. You only really get the warm tones in here. You don't get like the pinks that Anastasia does offer, but this is a much smaller palette, and I know some people just don't have the room for like big makeup palettes or even have a ton of makeup at all, so I feel like this palette is perfect again for someone in college, living in a dorm, someone in a smaller apartment, or like maybe you just don't have the room for a bunch of makeup. I mean, I certainly make the space for it, but I can see how everyone does not have that option too. I truthfully don't either. I just kind of make do. But anyways, I just feel like this palette does have a nice range even though it is small. You do get a nice white in here and a black. I feel like a white and a black are just essential for any beginner palette. But also you do get a nice range of like your browns. You do get some shimmers in here. Again, only like a champagne color and a gold color, and then like this like cranberry shade. But I feel like if you know you only wear neutral eyeshadow looks, this is the palette for you because it has everything you need. There's no extra bullshit colors that you're not going to use. It just has everything you need in one. It's a bit more pricey for the size of it, but I mean, it's worth it. I like Tarte eyeshadows. I do think Tarte has a nice formula of eyeshadows. I like Anastasia's more, but Tarte's still good. Also, I feel like if you travel a lot, this is perfect for you because again, it gives you all the nice, easy shades you're gonna need for like pretty much any eye look. And it's so small and condensed, and it has a mirror. It's just perfect for traveling because you can fit this in pretty much any makeup bag, honestly. Even just like one of those like small little Ziploc bags that like people carry with their makeup in it, this will fit. Personally, obviously I like the Anastasia Soft Glam more, but I can see the benefits of having the Man Eater over this one, just depending on your living situation, just how your life is. Okay, I did mention earlier that I have a cool tone palette I want to mention here. This palette I feel like is a bit overpriced for the amount of shadows you get, but it's one of the only cool tone palettes I really own. And the way the palette is set up makes it so beginner friendly, it's ridiculous. The Dose of Colors Pretty Cool eyeshadow palette. Dose of Colors is like my second favorite eyeshadow formula. Anastasia being my number one, my tried and true, of course, but Dose of Colors being a very close second. They're very similar in formula, honestly. Dose of Colors maybe isn't as fallouty and as pigmented, but very close in formula. I just feel like this palette is perfect for beginners because it just gives you all the colors you would need for a basic cool tone eye look, minus shimmers, it's only mattes. And it gives you like an order of how you would typically do a look. You know, like crease, deepening the crease, outer corner, outer corner, and then like lash line, you know. I just feel like the setup of this palette is perfect for beginners because it literally lays out how to do a look for you, you know? Again, this one is more cool tone. It is called the Pretty Cool eyeshadow palette, but they do have a more brown one, a sienna-y one, a berry tone one, and like a mauve one. I've mentioned them all on my channel before, I'm pretty sure. I like all of them, the baked browns being my favorite, of course, because I like my browns, but you know, this is a really nice cool tone palette. It does blend really nicely. So yeah, I did want to throw an eyeshadow palette in the mix that was strictly cool tone because I feel like some of these palettes do offer some cool tones, at least in my drugstore ones, but this is like mainly cool tones. And I don't have a lot of that in my collection, so. And the very last eyeshadow palette I want to mention is the Sosu Times Kaylee Urban Bible palette. Now this one, I feel like is beginner friendly, but for like a different kind of beginner. If you're someone that likes your neutrals, you like your everyday, normal, then this palette does have that, but also, if you like to play with color, if you go out a lot and you like to wear colorful looks, if you're like dabbling in the color, you want to do like a nice sunset look, a nice rainbow eye, I feel like this palette is good for you. I know not every beginner is going to want to play with color, which is why I mentioned all those other palettes that didn't have bright colors. But this palette I feel like is good for beginners that know they're mainly gonna wear neutrals like Monday through Friday, you know? But maybe on like a Saturday night you wanna throw that blue into your look, or maybe the purple, or maybe use that red in your crease, or you know, maybe a pop of yellow in the inner corner. Like, you know, you're mainly a neutral kind of girl, but you do wanna add some like spice to your life, some color, you know? I feel like this palette is perfect for you. Again, you have a white and a black in here, which I feel like is really important for beginners because you can easily lighten or deepen a color with the white or the black. But I don't know, I just feel like one half the palette is like super easy and neutral every day, and the other half has some color. And I feel like if you like colors, maybe even just like this nice pink on your lid for just a random Wednesday, because on Wednesdays we wear pink. I just want to throw one palette in here that did have some more bright, bold colors because all the other colors were more subdued and more like wearable colors. These are like boom in your face, like bright neon colors, no doubt about it. Besides like the pink is pretty wearable, but all these other colors, boom, in your face. I don't know, I just want to mention this palette because I feel like it is beginner friendly, but just in a different kind of beginner. Alright guys, that's actually all the palettes I want to mention. I do have other palettes in my collection that I felt were kind of beginner friendly, but I didn't want to mention too many palettes on this first video. I wanted to stick to like the basic things I feel like the majority of people would consider beginner palettes, and things I felt like would work for the majority of people. I wanted to mention I did have some variety in here, but you know, want to keep it pretty cut and dry in this video. So yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.